This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show.
Hang on 1 second. I gotta change the name of the show on Twitch. They won't let us call it this.
Oh, because of the O word.
They won't let us do it.
Or
so
putain.
I think it's the other one. I think it's putain. Hang on.
I think it's a French cuss.
It is. So that's why it's not letting us do it. So I'm switching this to just say fan-controlled fandom Olympics.
Because the
people,
French,
when they come to the stream, they'll see it. So now we're going to be going live, ready to go live. Hey, here we go.
We did it. We got caught stealing, and now we're in jail. What?
Now we're in Twitch jail. We're live. Hi, everybody. I'm Kenny Stevenson.
And I'm inmate 22137. No, I'm Alex Enriquez.
I love it. I realize also, too, that I remember this from last time I wore a yellow shirt when we did this show. It made me look all crazy, and now I'm wearing a yellow shirt again. So you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Hi, welcome to Fan Controlled Fandom.
You can turn a pig into a silk purse, but you can't lead it to water, baby. And that's what old Pappy Enriquez said.
That's what old Uncle Rick Caruso says too, probably.
Can I bring that up to the audience that happened to me?
That what happened? Yes, bring it up again. I might add extra light here while you're talking.
I was doing a presentation recently to an association of physicists, and I did a joke about Uncle Rick.
First of all, time out. Let that sink in, folks. My guy here is doing a presentation to a bunch of physicists. Let that hit your head.
And in amongst my jokes and japes, I got a lot of big time heavy duty nods from a lot of very smart looking people. Now, these could have been the dum-dums or the friends and family of the scientists, but I'm telling you, I did an Uncle Rick Caruso joke about how he was sponsoring the presentation. And I said it was Uncle Rick Caruso, and a member of the tech crew came up and asked if Rick Caruso is really my uncle, and I said no, and he said, "Oh, because he's a close personal family friend." And I went, you ever see a Miyazaki movie when like the lead character's hair just starts to stand on end? I was having that moment.
Or like any anime when somebody says something wrong and they go like, "Oh no!" and like the background becomes red and like flaming behind them. And
I had speed blur behind me, and all of a sudden I was thinking really intensely, "What should I do? I never thought this would happen to me. All these years of making the Rick Caruso joke." I said, "Well, hey, doesn't everybody in the city feel like he's our uncle?" Anyway, I think they're calling me, and I went,
"Oh, what's that?
Yeah,
what's that, Mike? Sorry." Ooh, here we go. I might get a little light here. Fix things. Maybe didn't do a single thing.
Not one little bit. It made a new reflection on your glasses.
Right there. Hey.
Yeah, there you go. Trademark. Copyright, boy. Kenny.
Speaking of something we've trademarked and copyright, it's this piece of music that's about to hit you because we're in the cave space. We should probably say who we are. We're in the cave space.
Yeah,
we're talking about all things fandom. This is like space people wear capes, people who are superheroes wear capes, people who fight dragons wear capes, and sometimes Olympic people take their flags and wrap it around them like a cape. And that's why, since it is we are in Olympic season here, we are doing the fan-controlled fandom Olympics, and then that's LFG in French after that. And
it got us in trouble with Twitch. Old man Twitch.
Good old Twitch. But we're going to be giving out some medals today to some of the fandom content. But first, we got to talk about the quick pieces of nerd news, which is why I got to hit this stinger to just assault your ears. Fantastic.
I love it.
It's so good. So I put a bunch of different stuff in here because there's a lot of news, but a lot of the news is centered around Deadpool and Wolverine, like I think this week they kind of made it so like, hey, if you haven't seen the movie by now, sorry, we're gonna start letting Jennifer Garner and Channing Tatum and people like talk about what they're doing. I will say we're gonna talk about Channing Tatum and Jennifer Garner in a second. I posted this in the chat in the show notes because this isn't really Cape Space, but the director involved with this is very much in the Cape Space. One, Robert Zemeckis, who's made such Cape Spacey movies as all three Back to the Future movies. So he's always been somebody who has been testing in terms of like what digital photography can do, digital effects, something he's been doing for years and years. And the last movie he made was this movie, and now that I no longer work for Sony, I could say all kinds of stuff, which he made this movie for us called The Walk, which is a truly terrible film starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it was about this. Oh,
yeah.
The guy,
the
Man on the
walker.
Wire. The Man on the Wire is the great documentary about it, but the live action film, The Walk, is terrible. But he shot it using this like kind of like I think one of the first kind of versions of what you would consider the volume. Like, you know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was never off the ground, and they had a bunch of VR things you could do on the lot to feel like because they could just load in some of the same kind of backgrounds and stuff, so you could feel like you were walking the tire. It was pretty trippy, but the movie was terrible. So he's back again, doing something bold for Sony. We clearly are Sony. I keep saying we, like I still work there, but I don't.
You're a company man, Kenny.
Sony, I am. I have a lot of. I was there 15 years. His next movie is this movie called Here. And did you watch the trailer for this film?
I didn't get a chance to see it, man. I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but just know this. This is the concept of the movie. It is one shot, like a locked off wide shot of like one place through time. So it teases it out like it's in a house and it opens and it's Tom Hanks and
I did see parts of this.
Robin Wright, and you know they're both de-aged. You know, and Zemeckis did Forrest Gump too, so he's like reunited, which is another movie that used a bunch of digital stuff. And so it's a bunch of de-aging on Hanks and Robin Wright, but they obviously didn't pay the people who Marvel pays, because the de-aging is like fine, but not like Michelle Pfeiffer in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Amazing.
Also, can I say too that one thing that they can't and they will never be able to do is de-aging the voice, because there's a 22-year-old Tom Hanks up there and he's like, "Hi, I guess we're both young now. Hi."
It was like Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny being like, get out of my way, Nazis.
25, I'm full of energy.
I got vim and bigger. But so it's locked. It's a locked off shot, and it's through the years. And in the trailer, it shows like prehistoric times, and it's the same shot, and then it see the house being built, and then it's like, and it's just going to be a whole movie shot from here. And I'm just like kind of stupefied. It seems like I will be like, I don't know, make me look silly when it comes out, but this looks crazy.
I think that when there should be a council of intelligent people who get together and they will look at something like this and they go, okay, if we find that there was something better for humanity that could have been done with all of this money and time, we're going to throw you in jail. And we're going to throw you in jail for just a little bit of time. But just so people go like, I can make this cockamamie movie where the camera, what if the camera's just looking at me the whole time?
Look, to give it some more grounding in the Cape Space, it's based on a graphic novel by Richard Maguire of the same name. It takes place across a century in a single location. But well, maybe that's how the graphic novel is. I don't know. We can look that up. But here is a running time of 104 minutes, and the camera never moves from a fixed position inside the home. The single perspective never changes, but everything around it does. It's actually never been done before. There are very similar scenes in early silent movies. But this was a very risky venture, says Zemeckis. That's the excitement of it. And that's like, okay, so that's something that's happening.
This is a very risky venture, says Zemeckis. Honk shoe, reply audiences.
Honk shoe.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love it. Oh, I love that. I thought you were saying honk too. Anyway, that's something totally different. So I mentioned Jennifer Garner and Channing Tatum. So they are now like out and about talking about the things that they did to train for this movie. And here's the thing. I don't know. Did you see their Instagram posts?
No, I don't think so.
I think I'm gonna make it so we can watch it right now on the stream. Hang on.
Holy crap.
Let's do this. Hold on. Oh, never mind. Hold on one second. Give me a sec. I think I can make it. So basically, because it's now like they're allowing them to talk about that they're in this movie, they are out and about. Both Channing Tatum and Jennifer Garner are showing that, hey, we're not just like, we don't just show up in this movie for a second and then walk away. This isn't going to happen. One of these days, the tech will work and we'll never have to worry about it again. So
and then we'll be rich.
They went to their Instagram, and as we talked about this movie, is that these people are not in the movie for like 5 minutes. These people are in the movie and did a bunch of training and a bunch of work. And if you look at the amount of work that 52-year-old, well, she's probably 51 at the time when she was doing this, 51-year-old Jennifer Garner did to get ready for this movie, full disclosure, I have COVID. And I've had COVID, I'm on day 7 right now. Watching her do some of the work exhausted me, just watching her do it, and incredible stuff. And then Channing Tatum as well. Channing Tatum went through a ton of fight training, a ton of training to really nail this gambit thing. And I think it's worth checking out to show, I love seeing actors like, I'm going for it, baby.
But I think too, we were expecting those kinds of things. I think we were kind of referring to them flippantly as things that would, they'd come and go, whatever. You'd shoot them over Zoom, and to know that they were actually important and like they had to put work in because they were going to actually be moving the story forward. That's really cool, especially like, yeah, Jennifer Garner. But let's not forget she was the Alias. Remember?
Yeah,
that's all sorts of kicking and punching.
I know, but if I had been kicking and punching for 20 years, it's not like I could just show up onto the court and start raining from outside. I got to warm up a little bit, right?
That's true. So, you got to stretch.
Yeah. But she did it, and here's the thing too: is like I think we talked about this when we were talking about the movie last week. Was like last week whenever we talked about it. Anyway, there is there was all the teasing of this film was that we were going to get like every single person was going to be in this movie. And I think there was something a little more gratifying to letting these actors come in and actually do a bunch of stuff, as opposed to just having, I put up a green screen in my living room and like turned around and went like, hello. And like, that's all we got from you. Like, yeah,
right. They turn around and they say, right, it's me. And then they open their mouths and somebody ADRs the character that they're playing later.
Yeah.
That's right. It's me, Swamp Thing.
That's right. It's me.
Son of Sam. Oh, no. Wait, he's not in Marvel.
Yeah.
He's a terrible murderer.
Really great. So I think it's definitely worth looking at it. It's impressive to see the amount of work these people. But in Tatum's, this was his first chance to even bring the character to life. And, it's been such a positive experience and a lot of great feedback. But he has a new movie coming out called Blink Twice. It's the directorial debut of Zoe Kravitz. And he's, of course, being asked about playing Gambit, and he was just asked this week if this goodwill to how he's played the character, if this is going to actually get this thing off the ground. And he says, "I sure hope so. From your mouth to God's ears, right into existence, my friend, please." And he said he has also told Marvel that he still wants to make the movie. He's like, "Of course I've said it. I've been saying it for the last 10 years. It's in Bob Iger and Kevin Feige's hands. I pray to God. And I hope the goddess answers Channing Tatum's prayers."
I think at the very least they can say, "Oh yeah, based on this, we're in active talks with Channing Tatum to develop a Gambit movie," and they'll just do that, and like maybe it works. It'll just be the same thing over and over again. I think part of what worked about this is there was an admitted silliness. There was like he was able to do the accent and do all the moves and stuff like that, and wear a comics accurate costume. So much of what worked about the performance is really specific to the hows and the whys of what we got. So I don't know that a full movie of what we saw works without the wink, without the. I mean,
you have to make it that way. You have to make it that way. And I pitched this last week. It's Lord and Miller. That's what it is.
Right.
You bring in Lord and Miller, and you Channing Tatum, and you just let it rip, and you just let him go absolutely bonkers, and you make it like live action X-Men 97. Like just do it. Just
grip it and rip it, baby.
Grip it and rip it. Like I just think it was such a I don't think the joke of him like doing the accent could last for 2.5 hours like a Marvel film. But you could definitely get some jokes out. You can definitely get some mileage out of it.
And I think just as a key member of an ensemble in an X-Men movie, I think would be, that totally works.
Yeah, I want this for him. And you know what? He'll probably show up in a Secret Wars. I think that's I feel like that's happening for sure. And might not show up in a Secret Wars movie because of all the legal around it is Kraven the Hunter, a movie that's been pushed not once but twice. This movie was pushed once because of the strike, the writer's strike. It was supposed to come out last November. Then it was supposed to come out in the summer, and then Sony pushed it again. It's now coming up around Christmas, and this is peak Sony. Kraven moved to Christmas because we're excited about it, and Christmas is the best release period there is, except the summer when it was originally supposed to come out. But we did learn that it's rated for R, for strong, bloody violence and language. That's what we officially have. Now, you are somebody who is way more tapped into, like, I know Kraven, who he is, but like, having an R-rated Kraven, I know a lot of people have been complaining about Venom, the Venom movies not being rated R. I think they might be like pushing the rated R for this third one, but that's what people were like, well, why are you doing Venom if he's not cussing? But we're getting it now with Kraven. Is Kraven somebody you want to see an R-rated movie for?
I couldn't care less, frankly. I don't. Look, I used to be of a mind like, yeah, make any comic book movie you can, and I don't like being the not like this guy, but if they had if any of the off Spider-Man properties they had tried so far had worked in any of the least bit, I might be a little more pumped to see, like, yeah, what are they doing to build out this universe? But I'm like, a villain, first of all, character I'm not that jazzed on, like, no, who gives a crap? And in terms of like, oh, we moved to Christmas because we're excited. It's like somebody came up to Sony and was like, you're on chemotherapy drugs. Do you have cancer? It's like, no. We just always wanted to go bald.
Ooh, that's a take. I love it. That's a good take. Yeah, to me, like, it's a good point that, and I've said this before. I've said this even when I was working for Sony. Venom's the blueprint. If you're gonna do this, just make them all like Venom. They can't be serious. Look at that! You get a little thumbs up.
I did it.
Look at that. You gotta have. It's gotta be super silly. It's gotta be like, you can't take it seriously. Like, and that worked great with Venom. They totally whiffed with Morbius. Like they cast the right guy to go goofy with it, and then Madam Web. They should have, as far as I'm concerned, they should have leaned in even harder because that movie was silly, and they should have even made it more ridiculous. Like, oh my
He
God,
studied spiders in the Amazon with my mom before she died.
Alex, you got to watch this film.
I will.
There is a point at the end when she's in her full Madam Web outfit. It is like, I can't imagine a world where if I was an actor, and God bless the costume designers, they're just doing their work, but they're, the outfit they put her in, if I was Dakota Johnson, I would have been like, I'm not putting that on. Nope.
No, you.
Nope. Like, you got to put it on. It's in your contract. I'll be like, well,
see you in court.
Watch what happens. I'm not putting that on. I'm not putting that on. F around and find out. I'm not putting that costume on.
I love it. I love it.
She looks so unbelievably silly, and it's hysterical. That movie rules. But like, that's the thing, is that the people set out, thought they were making a serious movie. You can't do that with this stuff because you're already asking us to get on board with a villain. Like, he's not there. I mean, anti-hero works for Venom because Venom is an offshoot of Spider-Man. Like, that's where the symbiote merges with whatever symbiotically with Peter Parker first, and so there is this like idea of heroism behind him, but it just doesn't work with like Morbius and Kraven the Hunter. Anyway, let's move on.
It's just like here. It's just like just because you can, should you?
Yep. Finally, I know you're not a Stranger Things guy because it's scary.
Spooky.
Ookie spooky. But there is I know you're not a big Broadway guy either, but there is apparently a Broadway play.
Ookie spooky.
A play called Stranger Things: The First Shadow that is like fully within like its canon, is going to be premiering on Broadway. It's set to begin previews at the Marquee Theater on Friday, March 28th, 2025, and officially open Tuesday, April 22nd. The show is currently in previews. It was in previews at the Phoenix Theater. It's in London. And it will be the first installment in a trilogy exploring the dark underbelly of Hawkins, Indiana. And it's basically, as far as it's a prequel. It takes place in 1959. And it's like, it has some of the characters. And look, I love theater. I have an audition for a play next week. I love theater. It's great. I don't know. What do you think about continuing canon via the stage that only limited amounts of people can see?
I mean, I'm, as much as I'm not like the hugest musical fan, I do recognize that
it's
Broadway
not a musical.
is this.
It's just a straight play.
Broadway is like this wellspring of American culture, and when you go to these places that generate theater, like London's West End, like Broadway, 2/3 to 3/4 of the posters you see are for revivals or for adaptations of like Back to the Future or Shrek or whatever. And I've heard that the Back to the Future show is great.
I want to see it. I hear it is fun.
But this is the thing, like adaptations of adaptations of adaptations, and like generally for that stuff, I'm like, okay, whatever, fine.
Yeah, it's like it walks that fine line between like, is this actual art or am I at like Knott's Berry Farm?
I'm at a commercial, and their marketing department will tell you, well, we're hoping this invigorates non-theater goers to explore more of live theater.
Sure.
Great argument. There's a billion other ways you could do that aren't taking up theater space with the prequel to your TV show, Netflix. Like,
it's a look. It's definitely a take.
Where is George M. Cohan? He's spinning in his grave like a lathe.
Not even one. I got to watch 3 of these things to get the full story. It's a trilogy. That's something that's just not done. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is a 2-part play that you have to see over 2 nights, and that's a lot to ask as well. And I love theater. I love like I took my kid to see Peter Pan, the musical. I got tickets from my manager. And, whatever, Peter Pan. I tell you what, they got that guy flipping and flying around the stage. I'm like, great, this is fun. And then watching how they do Tinkerbell, and just I love watching. There's a certain amount of fun around the practicality of theater, that is fun. It's a choice to be like, we're going to take this huge mega property and you can only see this in New York City. But I mean, whatever, I'm sure it's going to do a lot of great business and whatever. I love Broadway. Bring Broadway back. Let's go.
I like putting money into Broadway, but the thing is, like, again, it's taking up space there just because they can. Netflix, we're just going to disrupt or whatever. And I let
those grand disruptors, Netflix.
Yeah,
Ted Sarandos.
Like, do a traveling stage show, something like that. Like, but it feels invasive to just through brute force gain the Broadway seal of approval.
Sincerely, Hugh Jackman. No, he was found from the stage in Australia. Yeah, that's the quick hits. We got to keep pushing along here. We're on the Fan Controlled Sports and Entertainment Twitch stream, minus part of our title of our show. But we're giving you the E. It's time for the S. Let's get one piece of sports news between myself and Alex. Alex, take us out to the paddock, I'm assuming. Yes. Well,
it continues to be the midsummer break for both IndyCar and F1, the two open wheel racing series that I follow. And it seems uncharacteristic that there's this silly season lack of news, but I guess there are so many titanic things that have happened in season in terms of drivers shifting teams, key personnel dropping out, it's maybe everybody's taking a little break. But I do know McLaren team CEO Zach Brown is racing 3 of his vintage race cars at Laguna Seca this weekend. Hey, Zach, from us here at Fan Controlled Sports and Entertainment to you, watch out for the carousel, bud. Back to you, Kenny.
Oh, watch out for the carousel, bud.
It's a 6-story drop there, bud.
Do I sound the same? I made a little adjustment. Does everything sound okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Great. For my piece of sports news, I'm going to talk about something that, it is the Olympics. We're about to do some Olympic stuff. I am not an average Olympic watcher. I'm not watching the track and field, even though I love track and I love swimming. I'm not watching what NBC is showing me during prime time. I'm watching all the side stuff. I'm watching 3x3 basketball. I'm watching volleyball. I'm watching aquatic swimming. Get at me. Silver medal to the USA. This week, today, actually kicked off the breaking competition.
Yes.
And it is wonderful, but I want to specifically talk about the very first competition. So they go off, they have dance battles between 2. There's 3 different groups. They go head to head. But there was 2 people who had to do kind of like a play-in. And it was one woman is a refugee. So she's on the refugee Olympic team. She doesn't have an actual country. She's a refugee from Afghanistan. And she was competing. Her name is Manaziha Talash. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, but in the middle of her performance, which she did not win. She was, to be frank, she gave it a great shot. But in the middle of her performance, she took off her shirt, revealing an undershirt and a wings that she spread out that said "Free Afghan Women." And I just want to say that's the kind of stuff that you see on these lesser events. You see people who are actually making stands and statements, which a lot of IOC people do not let them make. Like, you cannot do that on the track and field competition. You would probably lose your medal. So, like, that kind of stuff I find really refreshing, and I just wanted to highlight this refugee athlete competing in the Olympics. I thought that was fantastic.
I'll have to check that out. I know that just started. I was watching New York Times this is like the worst thing I've ever said in my life, but the New York Times had a great breakdown on the origins of breakdancing and how it scored in the Olympics.
No, it would have been better if you would have been like, I just heard on NPR. Great. But yeah, no, check it out. I'm literally, when I'm done here, I'm going to go right back to watching it. I have it on while I'm working. It's the best stuff. But you know what also is great? I'm assuming we got some great sponsorship for the week, Alex. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and leading in from the sports news, of course, you did mention it is the Olympics, and our sponsor this week is NBC, Peacock, and USA, the family of brands who are bringing you Olympic coverage. They just want to highlight some of the events that are taking place this weekend. And like you said, it's some of the more off sports, and like they want to showcase what's happening around the family of brands. So, for instance, tomorrow at 9 a.m., they've got mixed badminton finals on NBC. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Peacock are the finals of Wet Henry, and the world will get to see if Canada gets to hold on to its gold. Then at noon on Peacock, we've got, just for the hell of it, Simone Biles wins bronze in skateboarding as well. And then right after that, we've got the finals of that old-timey game where dirty kids roll a wheel with a stick. Thank God for Nintendo. And so we're going to be hearing more and more some of the coverage that's coming up for NBC, Peacock, USA, and that family of brands.
I'm excited to see because, I mean, why not just give Simone Biles a bronze? In
I heard that Simone Biles was looking at a skateboard as she was walking by it, and it did a kickflip without anybody being on it. So
I'm going to say that's another event that I did watch. The skateboarding competition was pretty fantastic. I watched skateboarding. Great. I watched team handball. I'll watch like USA basketball. I watched the women for this morning for about 10 minutes, and then they went up 30, and I was like, I don't need to keep watching this.
I watched the men's 4x1 or the women's 4x1 relay back to back with the men's 4x1. Sha'Carri Richardson at the end of the women's 4x makes up like an insane gap, and at the very end before the finish line just does this really subtle look down the line at the opponents and then goes through with her chest out, like just absolute chef's kiss. And then the men's team just totally bumbled.
I love it. I like watching the track stuff because I can watch it in highlights in like 3 minutes, and that way I don't have to watch like 3 full hours of coverage, because it's a lot of the sitting around and the talking and the people and the stretching, and when the race itself is literally 10 seconds long.
Yeah.
So
in this economy, I don't got time for that.
I don't got time. You know what I do have time for? Our fan-controlled Olympics. That's what we're doing now. Here's what we're doing, okay? We just got sued for playing that song.
Aw, dang it.
Here's what we're doing. We are going to be giving out bronze, silver, and gold medals to both film and television. We're going to be giving bronze, gold medals to the movies and television of the summer. We don't have a lot of rules than that, other than something's going to be giving third, something's going to be given second, something's going to be given first. We each have picks. I think what we should do is, if one of us has a pick but somebody has it getting a higher medal, we should give it its shine at the higher medal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, talk about it. So if somebody has it at bronze, if somebody has it at silver, let's talk about it at silver, and then we'll keep going. Yeah?
I like that. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so why don't you go first? Do you want to do TV or film?
I'm going to do bronze movie because I think I can get something out there that won't dim it.
All right, so let's do bronze. We'll start with the film category for the bronze. Who's stepping up to the podium to receive the bronze medal?
Now, admittedly, thinking back, I feel like it was a little thin this year, but I'd say bronze for Godzilla multiplied by Kong, is, as the title suggests, is Godzilla times Kong. Now, what that equals is 14 and a half hours in a movie theater of, there was a silly, fun movie in there that somebody was trying to make, and a bunch of other people got in there and said, no, it has to think, people have to think we were trying to make a serious movie. And the person went, because it'll be funnier that way. And the executives went, who's trying to be funny, Jack? And so, I just, whatever, man.
I need you to take this movie about a monkey and a giant dinosaur teaming up to fight. I need you to take this very seriously.
And by the way, somebody unfamiliar with the entire property asked enough times if the monkey owned the lizard that I bet they just worked that into a draft that, oh yeah, the villain monkey owns a lizard.
I gotta tell you, there was a part of me that was maybe going to watch this film, but after your response from seeing it, I was like, oh, I'm good. because I was like, I remember I wasn't caught up. I watched Kong Skull Island, which is just a wonderful film, and then was going through Godzilla King of the Monsters and was like, ooh boy, I don't know if I can make it through these. And then when you were like, no, Godzilla X Kong whatever was not worth it, I'm like, great.
Here's the thing. I made a list of things that it's better than.
Ooh, I like this.
It's better than a headache. Better than bad candy. Better than dry pee. I don't remember why I wrote that down or what that would be, but I thought it'd be better than having dry pee.
I love this. This is I actually, for my bronze, I actually did something as well, because when I was looking at what I wanted to give awards to, there were a couple things that I saw that I was like, I don't want to give that a medal. And so, like, you know how sometimes in the Olympics there are people who are like hyped to win, and then they like come in and like just eat it when it comes time for the competition. And so I have, before I give my bronze, I just want to point out something that we also didn't talk about on this show, that I went into it thinking, well, this is in competition for the gold. Like this is it. And then when I went in, I was like, wow, they really, I don't know if they were just partying too hard in the Olympic Village the night before, or if they just have like over prepared for this thing, or if they're like way in their head, they need to see a sports psychologist to get, or do some meditation beforehand. And that's Furiosa, a Mad Max. That movie, just a total whiff for me. And I know a lot of people really enjoyed that film, but I just was looking at the clock like 10, 20 minutes in, and I was like, and it's a movie that made a lot of weird choices. Like, it is, Anna Taylor-Joy doesn't show up for like 45 minutes into the film. There's a character who is not only looks like Mel Gibson's Mad Max, with the exception of like, what's that lip, what's that thing when people have a little lip there? You know what I'm talking about? There's a little...
A cleft palate? Like hair lip?
Hair lip. So he has a little hair lip. But I'm not kidding when I say is outfitted the exact same. Like, dressed like... But he's not Mad Max. And it's... and it's confounding, because the whole time and it's just... a lot of the action sequences aren't earned. And so to me, I was like, well, this is a big whiff. So that means my actual bronze medal is going to be going to a movie that fits into the Cape space and also fits into the Olympic space, and that is the anime film Haiku, The Dumpster Battle. This is a movie that I love. This is an anime. This is the movie that is based on the anime that is about volleyball. It is a volleyball anime, and it is a very, and we talked about it before, like on this show, sports animes, it's like required that like 30% of it has to be technical information about the game itself. And so
he's tall for a striker. They're usually shorter and stockier build to block the net.
Oh my gosh, he passed it outside. He must be going for more of a power set. Like, it's just like that kind of stuff. It's just so, and it's there in the film. But actually, and this is a film that is just one game of volleyball for an hour and a half. It is not like a tournament. It is just Karasuno versus, I forget the dumpster, like their biggest rivals. And it is just one game for an hour and a half. And it's fantastic. It's an immersive experience. The animators did an amazing job of kind of putting you in a game and like putting you in the eyes of a setter as a ball's coming to them, and like putting you in the eyes of a outside hitter. It's just a really great, super fun movie that is a great sports movie that is also which doesn't quite fit in the Cape space, but you make it an anime and all of a sudden it does. So there we go.
Yeah, make it drawings, and we like it.
And that's my bronze. Do you want to do your silver, or should we do bronze for the TV, or should we just stay in one lane? Or
let's do the bronzes together. We'll medal up. So we'll do bronze for TV, and I suspect it might get. Now this wasn't damning with faint praise. It was just something that was nice to get back into. But I put bronze for TV at Game of Thrones. You mean
House of the Dragon?
House of the Dragon.
You know what's so funny? That's exactly what I put.
Oh so yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Go ahead. You say your piece, and I'll say my piece.
I just started rewatching it again, and it was easier to get back up to speed than I thought it would be. And it's got it going enough for me anyway. I'm back in that world, the intrigue, the power plays, the overlying like kind of mysticism and supernaturality of everything, and then also dragons. Like we get dragons a bunch, and I like watching Matt Smith. I think the actors are all really good. Yeah, it's an enjoyable watch. I like it. It's good.
Yeah. I put this as my bronze only because we haven't watched it. That's something that we, just because of schedules and doing the Acolyte, we weren't able to like cram into this show. And maybe we'll be finished by next week, and we'll talk about it next week, the whole season. But yeah, I'm about halfway through as well, and I was like, that's why I put it bronze. But part of me feels like once I finish, I'm gonna be like, I probably should have meddled a little bit more, because yeah, it's a show that knows what it is and knows the space that it's operating in, but also like knows like kind of, I think it almost at times knows what people heard and said about the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, and they've like taken those notes, and the pacing is really good. Like it's not like the thing that was so kind of off about the final couple seasons of Game of Thrones is the pacing was just like, in seasons like 3 or 4, somebody would walk from, King's Landing to the north in like an entire season, and then by like seasons 7 and 8, it was like somebody is like, I'm off to the north, and then like 2 minutes later they were there. Like that's just like there was so much. There's just,
and they would just be like, oh, there wasn't traffic or something, like just a really lame excuse.
And there's just like a speed that is. Now I also say with this show too is there are times when they're like, we know we can go pretty hard here. Like, guess what we can do in this show is murder a child. Like first episode.
They're not shy. They know what like the Game of Thrones brand stock and trade is, so they don't get shy about that stuff. I was really kind of surprised by some of those things, and then I went, no, this is what they told us.
And part of me too was like, because like especially too like in the first episode, the murder of the baby, like how that is a swing. Like I sent you to go kill the king, and the king wasn't there, so I'm just gonna go kill his kid real quick. Like that is wild stuff. But I did look it up, and that's, according to canon, that's what happens. Like that is what happens in House of the Dragon, the book. If you read it, that's the history of the Targaryen family, and that's what happened. Yeah,
and
it is.
Yeah, and I think too,
great being in it again. Yeah,
with some of the worst stuff, we got to remember who Big Daddy Pervert is, and that's George R.R. Martin. You can't blame the good people at HBO, because the New Mexican, the king of New Mexico and his little sailor cap are over there just breathing hard and getting musky about all manner of terrible things.
I know, it's wild. Every time I think about it, I'm like, God, how did they do this? But then it's like George is like very involved with this show. So
George is like if hell had a Santa Claus.
Yeah, right. He's definitely, yeah. It is something that you're right. The intrigue, like we're building, like season 8 of Game of Thrones would have been like we're already at war in like minute 5 of the first episode. Whereas, like, we are, like, obviously we're going to get there. And I'm sure people who've already watched the full season are going to be like, yeah, they do, you dumb people, stop talking. But,
yeah.
But I like that we are building it from away, because it's like, that's basic tension. That's something that was missing from the final seasons of Game of Thrones, too, is that when you know that there's something that people want, you got to let that tension build. And otherwise, you just, like, all of a sudden, Emilia Clarke goes from normal to crazy in 30 seconds, and that's something that should have happened over a course of a season to really get that real gratification from that turn that she had, which I think is what they said. Like, oh no, she was always going to do that. I'm like, yeah, but you had a runway, my friends. Like, but you chose not to use it.
It should have taken at least as long as a trip between King's Landing and the north.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a season. All right, great. So that was both of our bronze medals. House of the Dragon, great. All right, so let's do silver. silver medal for movie. What's your silver medal winner for movie?
This was actually really tough. I'm gonna say Deadpool.
I the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deadpool,
Okay,
Wolverine.
good.
Yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine is silver. Yeah. I mean, I can't say enough about this movie and how like it was a really terrific comic book movie.
Yeah.
The team up aspects, the grabbing of these random characters from around the multiverse, the how comfortable it was playing in that toy box was just a joy to watch. And it was, I think it, expectation plus corporate interference will always, make for a fraught outcome. And I think that this was a lot, considering what they had going against them, it was a lot cleaner and less nuts and boltsy than a couple of more recent Marvel movies. Yeah. And I just really, it was a good old time at the cinema. And by the way, I bet more and more this becomes a strategy that studios go, we're only going to give fans till Monday of that opening weekend before we open up the cameo closet and dump everything out. So you better go spike that opening weekend.
I think it was 2 weeks. I think they did 2 weeks with Deadpool. I feel like 2 weeks was around the same for Endgame. Or no, probably more. I think it was like close to a month before they did. I think Sony did a full re-release of No Way Home with like Garfield and Maguire on the poster. Like, I think like, but yeah, I like that. I will add on the reason why we like this movie a lot, and there's a reason why I'm giving it a silver. You'll find out. It's very similar to the Romanian getting her bronze taken away from her on a technicality, but this movie works for us, I think, especially as we had going into it. We had always said that the Deadpool movies were like fine, we liked them, but it was always Ryan Reynolds is kind of not being reined in enough is what would kind of kill that for us. And what really works about this movie is the friendship between the two of them. And I sent you that video this week of some like the stuff that's coming out now that we know everything, like of Hugh Jackman doing ADR of the bus scene, or like Deadpool and Wolverine versus all the Deadpools. And it's like the reason why we didn't know this was happening because it's like he's wearing the cowl and we got to keep the cowl a secret. But now that we all know he wears the cowl, they show this, and watching the level of detail. We talked about this with Jennifer Garner and Channing Tatum. The amount of energy and detail that Hugh Jackman is putting into the ADR of him just going, and he's like going through the whole scene, swinging his arms, doing all the grunts, like jumping, like growling his face. And it's just like, that to me shows somebody who not only is having a great time, but like wants everybody else to have a great time too. And that's what they did with this movie. Like they weren't just like powing. There's so many movies where you're like, we had a great time filming this, and then you watch it and you're like, what? This movie sucks. Like, yeah. Well, this is like the case where they had a great time filming it, and it just permeates throughout the screen. And like watching Chris Evans play Johnny Fireman, like that stuff was fantastic. And like the buildup of like the little. I just saw, because today Ryan Reynolds just posted about Chris Evans and was like how much of a treat it was to have him on set. He's been doing these posts kind of every day since they've kind of lifted the embargo, talking about each one of these cameos and talking about them as people and amount of work they put in and stuff like that. And the thing about Chris Evans is I remember when we were is like when they costumed him just perfectly. He had those little wraps around his hands. So you saw blue in his arms. He had a little wrap, and there was red in the wrap, and then white. And so it was like Cap. Like they just, that little wink was so, like that's just to me is like, not only are they having fun with him being there, they're having fun with this whole idea. Like, and it just permeates throughout the whole movie. I think it's great.
Going one layer deeper into the whole like connection to comic books, there's a lot, or Marvel started a subline of comics in the late 90s, early 2000s called Ultimate, and they did an Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men. These were like resets of the continuity told in the modern time for like younger audiences. And the Avengers parallel was the Ultimates, and their Nick Fury just happened to look exactly like Samuel L. Jackson, and that's where that whole thing comes from. That the idea that just off to the side of the main universe you're reading about, they have that same character, only, wait a minute, he looks like this guy in the real world. Like, I don't know, it's just another little sub connection that I love that just kind of was in keeping with, you know, Deadpool's whole fourth wall breaking meta thing in the first place.
Yeah, it just really, really worked, and that's why it's winning a silver. And I'll explain why it's not winning a gold next, but let's talk about your, and I'm intrigued to see who you have as your gold medal winner. Let's have our silver medal. Who are we giving? Who's coming to the podium to get the silver medal for Summer TV Fandom Show?
Summer TV Fandom Show, silver medal. This was another really, really tough one, but I'm giving it to Acolyte.
That's same.
Okay.
I know my gold medal is different than yours, so that's fine. But yes,
yeah, absolutely. Acolyte was just really good. Had it all going on. I mean, it's the same kind of thing as with Deadpool. You know, there's nothing really that you can say about this,
unless you're a troll.
Unless you're, I would say that to me, between my, especially on the TV side, my silver and gold, the silver beat an Olympic record and the gold beat a world record. You know what I'm saying? Nobody lost here. It was just somebody had to go faster than the other one. But yeah, Acolyte was so good. It added so much to my experience as a Star Wars viewer. I want to go back and watch it again. Adding to lore, pulling things off, closing loops, pushing forward, awesome lightsaber combat. I really, really had a good time with that show. And I was very, very glad for them to place a foothold firmly, so like decisively in the High Republic, to take it from, oh yeah, we're doing comics and little kids cartoons. And I mean, again, the one High Republic motion picture offering before this was a little kids TV show, not even Clone Wars level.
Yes, kids. Like, yeah. I'm with you, because I'm like deep into, like, I'm doing like a full proper read of the High Republic, and it's really, really great stuff. And yes, but there are like comics and kids, and there's like 3 adult novels, and The Rising Storm, which is the second adult novel in the first phase of the High Republic. You and I need to be the showrunners and make that into like a 10 season. It's just a really, really wonderful, wonderful story about the attack on the Republic Fair. But anyway, being in that world, reading, and then seeing something content-wise that actually is separate, like, it's so funny. People were so quick to judge the show for this and that, for hemming and hawing. Kid Cudi wouldn't be on this show saying one thing if, you know, in Phantom Menace, he's saying that Sith haven't existed. And then by the end, oh, look, he still doesn't know, because nobody knows, because everyone around it is dead and got involved. Like, oh, look at that. The one twin had her memory wiped. The one other one joined the dark side. And then the only other person who saw him is dead. So guess what? That line still tracks. Like, so many people, like, were so quick to write it off for saying this isn't my Star Wars, and then by the end got such Star Warsy Star Wars.
Yeah.
Literally one of the main characters deciding between joining the dark side or joining the light side. Like, this is like quintessential Star Wars, but also introducing it in a new way, fully new characters, new space, new world, putting people of color and women up front. Like this, yes, silver medal, but yes, Olympic record, not the world record.
Right. I just have to say, again, I really, really enjoyed spending time in that corner of the Star Wars universe. And I think it does, you know, from the moment they decided to do prequels, they started to engage in this dramatic irony sort of thing. It's like, oh, you know how this winds up. The first time you see Anakin Skywalker, you're like, oh, he's gonna throw the king of the universe in a big pit in a star. But it's how we get there. It's Romeo and Juliet, baby. You know how that movie's gonna end in the first 3 seconds. And
say it, yep. Yeah, that's yep.
The
So
audience knowing something that the characters don't know will always create dramatic tension.
All right, I love it. All right, so now we're going into our gold medal. Now, before we go to our gold medal movie, I wanted something else I put down because I didn't know where to put this, but I wanted to at least call it out because we haven't talked about it. Is you know how sometimes in the Olympics there's somebody who shows up and they're like not supposed to do well and they like come out of nowhere and like they don't medal but they're just like the feel good story of the of the Olympics. This is kind of like my out of nowhere feel good story, a movie that is technically not in the fandom space, but after watching the movie, is this in the fandom space now? And that is, and Josh Makuga, if you're watching, Bad Boys Ride or Die. I just watched this last week. Alex, Bad Boys Ride or Die has a ghost in it. There are dreams. There are ghost-led dreams. And they have officially reached, like, Fast and Furious, like, they're like the Avengers now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they can't die. They're Avengers. And I gotta say, like, some people were kind of, like, on the fence about this movie. It's definitely crazy at times. Like, it's not like it's like other bad boy movies, but then is also not like bad boy movies. And Martin Lawrence doesn't seem to be like, these movies seem to be slowly killing him, but it's fine. And it's definitely like one that I was like, oh, okay, look at this. We're actually in the fandom space with the Bad Boys franchise. Let's go.
If they make another Bad Boys movie, Martin Lawrence will be depicted on the poster as out of breath.
Oh, it seems like it's a lot for him. And I don't know if it's just because I know he's actually experiencing some health issues, but like it seemed. But no, this movie made a bunch of money. They're gonna make another one of these. They're just going to. And
good for them.
And this is what I'm proposing. I am proposing a Bad Boys Fast and Furious crossover. Do it. Great. So who's your actual gold medal winner? And I'm interested to see if it's actually mine as well.
I don't think it would be because this is a movie that isn't even out this summer. But
let's go.
Okay, my gold medal winner is Superman.
Oh no. Next summer's Superman.
Yeah, I'm those set photos have me so damn excited, and James Gunn has me so damn excited, and like Guy Gardner, I don't even care. I don't like Guy Gardner, and seeing the and like the whole thing, I was like, oh, here we go, it's happening. Yeah, Hawk Girl. Come on.
Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner is like just a real treat. Like just to know that that's what's happening is fun.
So that's my gold medal. I'm giving into boyish enthusiasm. I love it. I'm very excited. This is my Deadpool Wolverine.
All right, so my gold medal, this is a gold medal winner that's winning a gold medal on a technicality because it depends on when you count the summer as starting. So if you count the summer as usually summer movies start the first weekend in May, and it's usually with a Marvel movie, but because Deadpool and Wolverine got pushed, that was taken over by The Fall Guy this year. Now, my pick is not The Fall Guy, but this movie was definitely still in theaters when The Fall Guy was in theaters. By May 3rd, this movie was still in theaters, and you could definitely watch it on Max over the summer when it came out. And my gold winner is definitely still the gold winner for the year, which is Dune Part 2.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Because I just don't think anything has come close to it. So I think what happened is, much like the Romanian losing her gold, Denis Villanueva walked over to the judges and was like, hey, but technically my movie was still in theaters in the summer, so shouldn't it still be considered? And they were like, oh, no, we can vote for Dune. Oh, no, yeah, Dune. Dune's the winner. Because that's the best. That's the best. Not arguably, I mean, it might be the best movie. No, Touch is the best movie I've seen. You should check that out. It's a great small film. But besides that, Dune is one of the best movies I've seen all year. Just an unbelievably, just a wild romp in the cape space. This is like we took the cape space and made it the Oscar space.
I was trying to legitimize how I could include Dune 2 on my list. I'm glad you figured it out. But yeah, absolutely gold medal winner for the week of for the year of movies that are actually in theaters this summer. I like that we both stretched. But yeah.
Well, I also too think I knew we would, like, if we didn't do that, then we would both say Deadpool and Wolverine is the gold medal winner, which I didn't. Not that I didn't want to give it the gold. I just wanted to get more stuff in here, like, because like there really isn't a lot of fandom movies that have come out over the summer. There just hasn't been. We haven't.
Everybody pulled back from the hot skillet.
Yeah, there was no DC, there was no Star Wars, there was no new comic book hero or anybody. Like, there was no big fantasy film. Like, it was Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. That's basically, and Despicable Me 4. Like, that's what we've had as hits this summer. Everything else has been like, kind of like, oh, okay.
Sure, that came out already?
Oh, look at that. That's fun. Look what you did. All right, let's do gold medals here, because I got to wrap it up.
All right, gold medal in TV.
Well, before we do TV, I also have another, like, out of nowhere thing that I wrote down, and we haven't talked about it. I just want to give it a little shine for like 2 seconds. This is a show that has no business, came out of nowhere, and finished fourth. There is a show on Apple TV Plus called Sunny. Have you watched this show?
No.
It's with Rashida Jones, and it takes place in a recent future where it's in Japan, where iPhones or whatever smartphones have established to a point where you can have a little earpiece in your ear where you can so you can hear people what they're saying. You don't have to learn a language. And there's robots, but it's a murder mystery, and with robots, and it's just a really, really great show where it opens up where her husband and son are killed in a plane crash, but were they? And she thought her husband was a refrigerator salesman, but was
he?
And it's great. And Rashida Jones is one of my favorite performers, so check that out. And it's definitely in the cave space because it's futures and there's robots. Beep, boop,
yeah,
boop,
you
boop,
get
boop.
there. You get there. I'm there. I'll see it.
So give me your gold medal winner in TV.
I think we're probably on the same, given how things have gone. My gold winner is probably the same as yours for TV, is by a nose, is X-Men 97.
It's actually not, but yes. But
okay,
I'm glad
good.
you said it. I'm glad you said it because I wanted to get it in there, but I couldn't get it into the top 3.
I just was so impressed with this thing. Like, it didn't have to be as good as it was. And especially for me personally, closing the loop of how disappointed I was in that show as a child, just how like wonky it looked and poorly animated it was. This was really, really something. It truly was an act of love by the creators. You know, big continuity swings, the bigness of the X-Men writ large, and then like the like unabashed politics of it. Really, really loved that.
This was a great show. I was gonna maybe give it the bronze, but then I also didn't want. I wanted to, because I hadn't seen all of House of the Dragon. I felt like maybe by the time I had seen it all, I would give it. But yes, I just really thoroughly loved this show too. I thought it was just such a just doing so much and upset so many people who are like, oh, when did the X-Men become woke? And it's like, well, then you clearly never understood the X-Men, because it's always been a tale about people who are misrepresented and underrepresented. And just to see that back, I love this. King Boy, is this even the football account? This is the football account. It's just, this is another show that's also on the network called Controlled Fandom. That's what we were, a different show, but Controlled Sports and Entertainment is still doing plenty of sports. They just couldn't do the fan-controlled show yesterday because of scheduling conflict. So check in next Thursday at 2:30 Pacific time for updates on that.
We are trying, like the Dickens, to be the entertainment part of the sports and entertainment package.
We are the E of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. My gold medal winner is The Boys. The Boys season 4 was just, this is a show, again, that doesn't really, we talk about things that don't have business being this good. This show does not have business as being as good as it, but it just is. This is one of the most subversive shows that exist. This is one of the most biting, accurate social commentaries of our country that is around a Guga show about Superman being a villain. That's basically the hook of the show. What if Superman existed in real life? He would be a monster because he would have so much power and so much control, and he would rule via fear. And that would be fear, and I alone can fix it. And the fact that, like, he is even more Trumpy in this show, to the point where Trump people were like, I didn't realize this show, when did this show become woke? It's like, you have not been watching this show. It has been like this since the jump. But like, there's a Marjorie Taylor Greene character in this season. And just like the way that the characters each season grow, have little minute details, the writing is great. This is just, The Boys is just an unbelievably wonderful. But then, and in addition to all that, is just a hard R show where people have weird sex and blow up heads explode and blood goes everywhere. It's great. It's a great television show.
I gotta get going on these boys. They sound like bad boys.
The bad boys and the boys. There's so many boys. There's so many boys on my podium. But to say a show that's called The Boys, it's just about the name of it. But the female characters in the show too are also strong and complex and deep. And this season tackled the Dobbs decision about what abortion means in this country. It's just an unbelievably well-written, well-crafted show. It's just fantastic. Good stuff. All right, so those are our medal winners.
I'm going to watch these bad boys.
Do we have another ad read from, speaking of the Olympics, about from what's happening on the NBC collection of networks? The collection of networks,
some more of the Olympic schedules. So Saturday morning at 6 a.m. is the finals of mixed steeplechase. 9 a.m. is a new event. It's called Team Stop the Horses from Getting Whipped. Everybody in the stands descends onto the field and stops the horse riders from whipping the snot out of their horses. It's really satisfying. Noon Saturday is Nike presents LeBron James posterizing terrified foreigners. Since this was no walkaway for the U.S., Nike has lined up an exhibition game with LeBron and a bunch of unathletic Parisians. And then at 11 a.m. Sunday on all three platforms is synchronized trimming.
Oh, synchronized trimming of what?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not what you think.
That's what I kind of thought it was. You know what I think it is now, though?
What time is it, baby? This is weekend music. This is how you get a weekend going. My wife's coming home. I'm finally not going to be alone anymore. She's been in Edinburgh for 10 days at the Festival Fringe.
She's going to be jet lagged, so you're still going to have probably a day or two before she's back to her fighting weight.
Well, that'll be, but at least somebody won't let me. Somebody will be here to wake up if I start choking to death, in my sleep.
So this game, it's my turn. So here we go. This is the game. Are you ready?
Yes.
And I just want to say, before I start this game, just remember I've had COVID all week. So Max released a trailer of things that were coming out in the next year or so, including a brief look at the next show in the Game of Thrones-verse, the GOTU. It's called A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and it's based on the novellas Dunk and the Dunk and Egg novellas by George R.R. Martin, which, by the way, I love that they are just... George R.R. Martin has all kinds of other stuff, but can't actually finish the main saga. Anyway.
No, he's busy.
I know, this is all found in a collection called The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, since it's Game of Thrones, it means people are going to have some real goo-gaw names, which leads us to the game we're going to play, Name That Name. All right? It's simple. I'm going to name a character that could be in A Night from the Seven Kingdoms, and you have to tell me if they sleep with someone in their family. Are you ready?
Yes. It's the ultimate Game of Thrones quiz game.
That was called a curveball that I threw right there. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Prince Baelor Breakspear Targaryen, the hand of the king at the time of the Hedge Knight, which is one of the stories in the novellas.
Yes.
Yes, he's married to his cousin, Lady Jenna Dondarrion. Number 2, Lord...
Oh, Dondarrion, an ancestor of Beric Dondarrion.
There we go. Lord Eustace Osprey, a minor lord in the Sworn Sword novella. Is he married to... Does he sleep with somebody in his family?
Yes.
Yes, he's married to his cousin, Lady Rohan Weber. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
How about one of the main characters, Egg, or Aegon the Fifth? Does he
Well,
sleep
yeah.
with someone from his family?
He's a Targaryen, so for sure he has a relation with a relation.
No, he actually marries Bretha Blackwood, who is not his cousin. This marriage is notable because it was a love match rather than a political one, which caused some tension within the Targaryen family, as the Targaryens, as you mentioned, often arrange marriages within their family to maintain their bloodline. Quick reminder, Quick Aegon of Season 2 of House of the Dragon is married to and has babies with his actual sister. Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, just in case you forgot, that baby that gets killed, that's a baby that he had with his actual sister. All right, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Lenore Valerian.
Yes.
Yes, but he's from House of the Dragon, actually, and he marries Rhaenyra, but theirs is a marriage of convenience, as Lenore is gay. Rhaenyra is the daughter of King Viserys I Targaryen, and Lenore is the son of Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, making them cousins. However, after Rhaenyra's mother dies and her father marries Alicent Hightower, Lenore becomes Rhaenyra's stepbrother-in-law because his mother-in-law, Alicent, is now married to Rhaenyra's father. This is ripped from the front page of Pornhub. Also, reminder, one of the main characters of House of the Dragon is married to his sister. Are you ready? Next one.
Hit me.
5. Jaehaerys Valerian.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. He's from House of the Dragon. Of course he is. Jaehaerys Valerian, also known as Jace, is the eldest son of Rhaenyra Targaryen, and her first husband, Lenore Valerian, as I said, though his true father is rumored to be Sir Harwin Strong. Baela Targaryen is the daughter of Daemon Targaryen and his second wife, Laena Velaryon. After Rhaenyra and Daemon marry, Jace and Baela become step-siblings and are there later betrothed to each other. So two separate families then together, that's the Pornhubby of it. This is icky, but again, not as icky as marrying your actual sister. Yep. That show that you watch and love gives you the option of supporting of dude married to his sister or lady married to her uncle. HBO, and that was Name That Name.
Thank you. You know what? I gotta say, re-engaging with it back again. This is the most diverse cast of actors they've had on a Game of Thrones property. A season
a black woman riding on a dragon, that's fantastic. But they're also siblings.
But how is it that so much of the cast looks indiscernibly similar to one another? There's too many people that look the exact same. I can't tell where or when I am at any point.
I had to reread that. I was like, wait, that's his sister? I did not know. And I've watched the show, and they definitely don't make it known, but it's like, that's your sister. Like, Alicent Hightower is not a Targaryen, and she walks over and she's like, these are my two kids. These are my two kids who are married to each other and definitely have sex because there's kids out of it. That's just wild stuff. Wild stuff.
Yeah, anyway, it's troubling.
Speaking of wild, let's get to the Hoopla stuff. Do you have a Hoopla recommend? Hoopla, of course, is where you log in. You can put in your library card and you can check out all kinds of digital comics. Alex, do you have recommendations for the folks?
The Brood Saga. It's an X-Men Masterworks by Chris Claremont, and I don't remember the illustrator's name, but he's fantastic. I'm working my way through it. It is really, really cool looking stuff. It's fun. It's a little ahead of Dave Cockrum. That's the artist. The writing is really good.
I'm sorry. What was that name again?
Dave Cockrum.
Got it.
Can I say that on the Twitch? Is that okay?
I don't know if you can, but go ahead.
We couldn't say French cusses. That's why the stream started late. Anyway, that's my recommendation. The Brood Saga.
Great. I'm still making my way through all of the High Republic. I'm reading currently right now the High Republic Adventures, which are not the Marvel run, but these are from Danielle Jose Older. But I also want to give a shout out to a new manga that I'm reading called Fire Force, which is this amazing. All anime is so fantastic. It's basically like if firemen were fighting monsters. That's basically the pitch on this. And it's like firefighters who can also fight monsters because these monsters happen to set fires. It's just great, wild stuff. Every anime, like the elevator pitch on it is so great. And I love pouring into more and more of this stuff because it's just out of the box. It's fantastic. Finally, before we get out, we got to have one more read from. We need to know because it's the weekend's coming up. We need to know what we should be watching as the Olympics wrap up.
The upcoming programming schedule for the USA NBC Peacock family of broadcasters. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. on USA Network is 9 hours of Suits, and then Sunday at noon on Peacock is the gold medal finals of Karate or Crazy, where athletes must determine whether their opponent is a martial artist or just insane. And then Sunday night at 10 is the gold medal finals for the messiest event of both Olympics. That's, of course, diarrhea soccer.
I love it, James Brown. That I don't know karate, but I know Crazy. That's great. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, now's the time. Well, this is what our dogs think. What have your dogs have been thinking about the Olympics, or basically all of the summer content that we were giving the medals out to?
They were really, really happy. I think I reiterated this on the big broadcast a time or two, that they were glad that, inclusive of the Olympics, there were so many media choices that kept me at home. They love that. They like it when I'm here. You know, Lupo is a big fan of all the content, but he can't go to a movie theater. As much as we might dress him up in a trench coat with a hat on, it hasn't worked yet.
When I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I had a couple walked in with a dog, and that dog sat and watched the whole movie. So apparently some theaters don't care. Well,
the fine folks at the Pacific at the Grove sure don't take kindly to mutts.
It's actually an AMC at the Grove now. My dog couldn't care less. We've been sleeping in separate rooms, my wife and I, because we both have COVID, but she is doesn't like when one of us is coughing and the other one's coughing. She wants our own spaces. So the dog has just been wherever she is. So she couldn't care less what's been going on this week. She don't care. And that, speaking of not caring, that's it. We're done. This show's over.
Yeah, I don't give a care anymore.
Where can the folks find you before we get out of here?
Duke_Midnight on Threads and Instagram and wherever major magazines are sold.
I'm at Kenny G Donut King, Instagram and Threads. Kenny G Stevenson at TikTok and Twitch. And 2 weeks from today, August 23rd, at the Elysian Theater in Los Angeles, 8 p.m., you can go to elysiantheater.com and scroll down the counter to get tickets. The show is called Process. This is a fully improvised process of putting up a play. We get a fake name of a play, and then we improvise auditions. We do an improvised table read in which we literally show you that we hold scripts in our hand, but they are blank. There are no pages. We are fully improvising it. Then we do auditions, and then we come back, and then we do the actual final act of the play, and it's all fully improvised. It's at the Elysian Theater. Please come and check it out. If it goes well, we have a nice house. We'll get a nice little run at this really cool theater in Los Angeles. So check
the Elysian is a great space, wonderful theater. It'd be a great place for you to hang. Not geographically desirable for you, but you can't have it all.
The winner takes it all. And that's it. We'll be back next week talking about something. I don't know. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. We've got Rings of Power coming back. We've got Agatha All Along. We've got The Penguin. We've got a Dune TV show coming in the fall. There's just a lot coming down the pipe. But we've got to figure something out for a couple of weeks before that Rings of Power comes out. So maybe we'll talk more House of the Dragon next week. Hey.
I'm going to show you my favorite First Amendment auditor TikToks.
I think I can wait to see those. But thanks for watching.
Bye bye.